Welcome
back
to our awesome, cool, great, super duper YouTube channel.
Yeah, our magnificent home. Welcome to our YouTube. Makes me think of Frozen. Makes my heart really happy.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so good. So, what are we talking about today?
Cool. So today we're going to be talking about getaways. Getaways for you and your spouse, I guess, or significant other, and why they're important. And Hope came up with the 3 R's that we're going to talk about, right, for getaways?
Yeah, why it's important, what you kind of like take away from it, right? Kind of what we've learned that we take away. I have to tell you real quick though. I know, we're going to stay on topic, I promise, but we're recording this after a work day and I have a surprise for you.
Uh-oh.
Talk about getaways. Isn't that fun?
Yeah, check that out.
Yeah, give it the beans.
Give it the beans sticker. So you know what this means now, right? After I explained
Yes, I do. I felt it was appropriate to give it to you now because I got it today, but also we're talking about getaways when you need to get away from everyday life, and this came from work. Shout out to Seth.
Oh, yeah. Oh, because you need to give it the beans to get away real fast, right?
Oh,
Where you're going? Is that where you're going with that?
That's a good one, yeah.
Yeah.
Give it the beans and get away as fast as you can to have the 3 R's with your spouse. I like it.
Heck
But it's
yeah.
super fun. So
Sweet.
I was excited to give that to you. Steph's the best. You know,
Thanks,
you like
Seth.
stickers.
Yeah, I got quite the sticker collection now.
Yeah, it's really fun. So
Sweet.
anyways, yes, the 3 R's. So yeah, I was just kind of praying over this and this came to mind. It felt so appropriate for the purpose of having getaways with your spouse. So it helps you reprioritize, reconnect, and reestablish.
It's good stuff right there.
Good stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It makes it memorable, right? So reprioritize. Life is very full. I'm not gonna say busy, I don't like that word, but it's very full. And it can be very easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and to then kind of get your priorities out of whack. So there is something that many people refer to as the divine order, where it is the Lord, you and your spouse, then your kids, then everything else. And it's very easy for work to trickle up the ladder or deadlines, whatever it may be. The kids can often go before your spouse, which kids are great, but you have to be very careful with that. So you do the getaways to reprioritize the way that I really believe the Lord intended to make it work so that you have the optimal, best thriving marriage.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Nice.
So what's the next one?
Reconnect. Right? So I guess for us, for the reconnecting portion of this, we're talking about, when you take this time to have a getaway, is while you're on this getaway, what activities, what kinds of things do you and your spouse like to do to reconnect? So like Hope mentioned, during the fullness of life, things can get kind of crazy and you may not have the time to do the things that you like to do that allow you guys to connect. So when you're taking this time to do a getaway, it's important that you make sure that you do those things that you like to do together to help you guys reconnect. So
Strengthen your bond.
yeah, there you go.
Work
out,
Yeah.
Look at those guns. Big, strong reconnection,
Yeah. So
But so it can be different. I mean, it's different for everybody, right? Some people may like to go hiking. Some people, the beach is not our place to reconnect, but some people may like that, sitting on the beach, talking to each other, or the mountains, being out in the mountains someplace, or, maybe not anything as complicated as that, but, a simple thing could be simple things too, like, maybe there's some place in your city or town that you like to go to, and you just get away there with you and your spouse, no kids, for, an evening, a night, a day, whatever. You don't necessarily have to, like, drive to the mountains or drive to the beach,
Right.
But I think it is helpful to remove yourself from your normal household bubble, and your kind of normal places that you go. But what kind of activities do you like to do? Maybe it's some kind of game, or I don't know, talking, chit-chatting, campfire. I don't know. It could be anything. Riding bikes.
Book reading, all the things. But yeah, ultimately doing things that don't feel like busy, but it helps you guys bond. That's something to think about. And I feel like one time we had a conversation about like thinking about things that maybe you did when you were like dating.
Oh yeah,
right?
that's a good point too. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we had that conversation previously, and I was like, oh, that's a really good idea too. So I don't know, that could work, could not. You grow as you grow together, so things you used to like you don't. But just some thoughts. The end goal is to strengthen the bond. You kind of reconnect with each other, and it's beautiful.
For sure.
Yeah. Next one is reestablish. So again, kind of going back to reprioritizing, getting the things in order, but reestablishing goes back to the foundation of like, what are your goals? What are the values? So spending time, maybe writing that out, just simply discussing it, but really refocusing on that, which is not the easiest one. I think this actually...
No.
We're not going to go there. That's another conversation for another time. We have a really hard time really figuring out what our priorities and goals are, more so goals. And it's part of
priorities
life.
Too,
well,
though.
It's priorities, but it's like, as I think about this, as we're talking about this, I think about how you and I literally this week we're starting something new, because every time we try to set a new priority or goal, we realize, oh, that wasn't the right approach or whatever it may be. So it's really nice to have these getaway trips. As I'm talking, I'm thinking of this. So you can be like, well, let's look back and see what didn't help us keep our eyes on the prize, if you will, to propel us forward towards what we want to do, where we see our lives moving forward together as a married couple, whatever it may be. So I'm just laughing in my head because we've done this many times, and I think we may have found something that might work for us now.
I think so. I mean, so far.
So that's part.
2 days in, I think we're doing pretty good.
3 days?
Pretty good.
It's Wednesday?
Yeah.
3 days?
Well, today is the third day, but because we're filming this, we kind of altered it just a smidge, but
yeah,
still kind of on the right path. But anyway, that's a good point that you bring up about that, because it's. I mean, even just the other night we were talking about, what are our priorities? What do we want to focus on? And so it's really, you bring a real good point. It's good to have a discussion about that and review the previous. I don't know. It depends on how often you want to have these discussions with your spouse, but the last year, last 6 months, if it's quarterly, whatever, just see how things are going.
Yeah, and reduce the overwhelm. That's why we're focusing on it, because I get overwhelmed and messes up the whole priority and the divine order of things. So it's great. Which, speaking of that actually feeds into the next thing of like how it got started with us.
Yeah.
I was always a very goal-driven person. That's why you fell in love with me, right?
One of the reasons, yes.
And that can be really good and also really bad. So I thought it would have been really good a couple years ago at the end of the year to have a mountain trip, reflect on how the year was and where we want the next year to go. And that's not bad. But that really had me focused on the goals. And it was not the type of goals that I think actually help build a stronger family, but that is what led to us even coming to this conclusion now. So we booked that really great trip. I don't recall actually how much we reflected and moved forward with ideas, but that propelled us to then be like, okay, this is a really good idea to at least get us out of the day-to-day, the mundane, and refresh. Why not add another R? And get refreshed.
Well, I mean, you're right. That should be a side effect or an additional benefit. That, I mean, you should feel refreshed too.
Yeah,
if you
really should.
You're spending this time with your spouse and doing things that you guys enjoy and having conversations about your life and your goals and your priorities. I mean, I would hope that you would feel refreshed too.
Yeah. I don't remember feeling refreshed.
Reinvigorated.
Ooh.
Let it go with it. I'm just thinking of words that start with R.
Yeah, it's good, but we're getting bigger and bigger. You're gonna max out my vocabulary soon.
Fancy words.
But yeah, no, truly. And that said, how it started and how it looks now is very different. And I think that, again, you kind of walk that out and develop that as you grow together. It's gonna be growth no matter what. It's just what's really cool about Getaways. So that said, you've kind of mentioned locations a little bit, like beach versus mountains. We are definitely more mountain people, but I feel that we have previously, actually not we, you, made a very clear line of like, you don't want this to be a vacation.
Oh yeah.
You want this to be a getaway. Can you elaborate, sir?
Well, I guess in my mind, typically vacations, they're just busy. You know, you go somewhere and you're like, oh, I'm excited to go
So much excitement. Yeah, it's
wherever.
good. Yeah.
And when I'm at this place, oh, we got to do this, we got to do that, we got to do blah, 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 blah. And it's just a lot of like hustle and bustling. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, I need a vacation from my vacation.
That's totally where that comes from.
You know? And there's usually a lot of like planning, a lot of prepping, like you got to pack stuff for a week or, and, you know, get your whole life together and back up the car and then go to wherever you're going, you know?
Yeah.
And that's just, I don't know. I mean, it serves its purpose, but I think I don't think it doesn't serve the purpose for what we're trying to talk about for a getaway here. You know, I think you can have moments of reconnection with your spouse during a vacation, but holistically, that if you look at the whole trip, there's a lot of other stuff that goes with it. Where we're talking about a getaway, at least how we have experienced it, we've done it. It's been like, you know, a 1 or 2 day kind of weekend getaway
Good
type
point.
thing.
They're not
you know?
long, which means the commitment's not crazy. It's just enough to hold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's easy. You can just, you know, grab some of your things and then, you know, you're off to wherever you're going. And it's not usually typically a vacation someplace that's, you know, further away, several hours. What we've done has always been someplace that's within like an hour and a half of our house. So you're not worn out by the drive, and, you know,
that's a whole other thing
if
too.
traffic is bad, you know, your 4-hour drive turns into 6.
Yeah.
You know,
And
so.
we may or may not be speaking of recent experience from a vacation. And so, yeah, it's a good point. And that kind of feeds into, like, if you do have a family or a young children or something and you can't get away, well, this factors in like date nights, because you can get away for a short period of time. So it doesn't have to be elaborate and crazy. It's just you guys together.
Yeah.
Right? Which is really cool.
Like you always say, you want to be intentional with your time, right? So it's not just like, oh, let's just go do whatever, but, you know, view this as an opportunity for you guys to reconnect, reestablish, refresh, you know, whatever it may be, but be intentional about it. Don't just like, if you're doing a date night, don't just be like, okay, yeah, we're just going to go eat at so-and-so and just, you know, just go eat there. I mean, go into it with a little bit more intentionality and
knowing to talk about conversations.
Yeah.
And yeah, totally.
Exactly, for sure.
I cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, that's why I was just going to ramble about stuff like that. But
yeah. So
basically it.
that's a good point. The intentionality is big, especially when the time is coveted. If you don't get a lot of time during the weekdays, or kids are really busy with sports, whenever it may be, you really want to have those conversations. So intentionality is great. And we suggest like quarterly. Like that's kind of been like our goal has been quarterly, more or less. We have found that's been nice for us because life does happen. And I noticed that like seasons seem to change so fast. Like not like seasons like the weather, but like seasons of life. So it's you thought I meant the weather, but it is quarterly for seasons too.
we got clearly defined ones of those each year. You know when they're coming. But anyway.
But yeah, of life. So it's nice to kind of revisit that and then see where you are to where you were just 3 months ago, for example. Things change so quickly. So it's really nice to do that too. Is that what you would say too?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's good.
No, well, I think it's good too, just how busy life is, or how full life is, to have a, you know, once a quarter.
You can lose that connection pretty quickly if you're not intentional with doing it often. Yeah, that's good. And then I guess the other thing is kind of feeding into the intentionality. I just like to encourage, like, you don't want to be too agenda heavy because you don't want it to feel like a vacation where you're doing all the things. But know that if you take the time to be intentional, to get away, have a date night with your spouse, a lot of the reprioritizing, reconnecting, reestablishing, they start to just happen. Which is really cool. So this should be the fruit of whatever intentional time you take away with your spouse. So just remember that, and maybe I'm just preaching to the choir here, to myself, that like I always have big ideas, big dreams, big goals, and I'm like, we're gonna get away, and we're gonna do all these things. I have brought a couple of marriage books, you know, before to a weekend getaway, and I'm like, John, we haven't done it yet. Like that kind of defeats the purpose. And I hate saying that because they're such good resources, but you just, there's a balance.
Oh, it's important to have a balance, like you mentioned. You don't want to, again, have something that's so agenda focused or heavy where it feels like a checklist. but you don't also want to be so unprepared that, you know, you just
sit around
Yeah.
and accidentally watch
Don't do
TV the
anything.
whole time or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
exactly.
good. That's good. So it's
So-
been really impactful for us, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's why we're
And it's
talking
always a
about
learning process to see what works for you. For you, we know it works for us. The mountains is our thing. The slower pace of the mountains, the peacefulness is good for us. Could be something different for you, which is fine. It's different for everybody, but just as long as you can identify what that is and you try it and it's successful, then it's great.
it. Yeah, I agree. So get one in the books. Give it a try. Let us know how it goes. It should be good.
Yeah.
And if you just continue with it, it just gets better. Each of ours have gotten better. It's just been pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything
Cool.
else, my friend?
I think,
We just gave it the beans, dude.
yeah, I think we just wrapped this sucker up. I think we're good.
So yeah, I love that so much. Do that. Let us know how it is, and just pray over your marriage that it is going to just come together ever so nicely. I don't know. I just see this beautiful like image of people taking that intentional time and there's being this great like blessing and just meshing of wonderful things. So pray that that is what you see unfold with your marriage.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right.
Until next time.
See ya.